This is a really great transition into Traitors because you know who's incredible at pronouncing words in unusual and intoxicating ways?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Gabby Windy.
Ugh,
I feel like I'm obsessed. Her social media presence is just like a breath of fresh air.
totally.
And like, I just love how she'll be like, I have business hours.
Yeah,
Like, just the way that she'll like enunciate and like pronounce certain syllables really brings joy to my ears.
yeah, it's funny because it's not the way she speaks could be so cringe and like hard to hear, but for some reason, I think it's because she does such a good job of showing how authentic it is. Like she could probably not speak like that, but it wouldn't be her. She'd have to try to not speak like that. So I feel like everyone just loves it because we're like, you're just so weird.
It's like your brain just works in such an interesting
Yes.
way.
Yes. Like, did you see when she was talking about she's like, "I've asked my dad, like, what happened to me as a child? Was I dropped on my head? Like, why do I speak like this?" And he's like, "Gabby, shut the fuck up."
Yeah, she's just unbelievable. She's so funny. So I feel like this is a good transition for us to get into Traders. We're
Mhm.
going to recap the last 3 episodes because we fell behind.
Yes. Well, we're
And
not gonna recap. We're gonna talk about some core interesting things that happened in the past couple episodes that, like, led to the reunion. Okay.
okay.
So when we left off with traders, last time we spoke about it, Danielle had just asked Brittany to basically be a trader with her. I have very specific thoughts about this. What do you think? I can go first, but what did you think about this?
I mean, it's just so frustrating. I hate
Yes.
that like she didn't want to work with Carolyn.
Mhm.
It's annoying that she didn't follow the traditional trader format of sticking as a team.
Yes.
And I'm sad that she turned on Carolyn and Carolyn left and now she's bringing in Brittany who like has previously betrayed her. It's just like what are you doing?
Which we obviously know how that turned out, which I'm
Right.
very happy about. I also just think it was like a stupid decision of Danielle. I think she put Brittany in a really shitty position because she put a huge target on Brittany's back.
Yes. Yeah.
Brittany, either she said yes to being a traitor or she would be killed. But
Right.
like
And clearly she
either
didn't want
way,
to leave the game.
right, she didn't want to leave the game, but she and Danielle have been so buddy buddy. And she even said if Danielle's a traitor and she chooses me, that would be so dumb.
Right,
And
exactly. It's just she's just like I don't know like what her goal was. I feel like she really wanted to like come back together with Brittany and it's great that they like reconnected and had a nice friendship, but that doesn't mean that she should be a traitor.
it was also just really giving like 6th grade. Like when you like have gotten into a fight with someone and then you make up and you're like obsessed with each other and you're like, "Oh my God, you are perfect. Like I'm so sorry we went through all of that." It's like, do you not have any do you remember the past? Like, can't you just be an adult and, like, be happy that you made up and be normal friends? Like, why do you have to go to such an extreme now that, like, you are inseparable, like, you are the duo of the castle? It's just, like, it's a really giving, like, 13 years old.
Yeah, that's a really good assessment. I didn't think about it in that context, but it really is. And it just like just would have been way more satisfying if she was like she got me out in Big Brother and like now I'm coming for her.
Yeah, and,
Like
like
we could get behind her for that, like a
right.
vengeance arc.
Or even, like, I'm so happy that Brittany and I get along, but you know what? Like, I forgive, I don't forget, and I'm coming for you. Like, something funny as opposed to being like, "Brittany is my girl, she's my soulmate." Like, we were meant to make it to the end of this because of what we've been through. It's like, what planet are you living
And I know, and then I
on?
just thought it was so interesting just to jump ahead for a second at the reunion when Brittany was like, "You made it seem like we are like lifelong friends. Like I
Mhm.
hung out with you for like a few hours
No,
during Big
totally.
Brother."
I literally said to Ariel, I'm like, "This is so mean," but it's true. Also, another thing we talked about at the reunion was how Danielle, like, sort of redeemed herself, which I think was good for her, but bad for the reunion. Like, I was waiting for, like, people to be brawling, especially with Danielle because she was so crazy, but I think she just, like, handled herself really well.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't know if this was going to be a hot take, but I really liked Danielle at the reunion.
I wouldn't go that far.
I like that she addressed the NDA rumors. There were like rumors that she told Brittany that she was a traitor. And she was like, I take NDAs really seriously. I would never like fuck that up. And then Brittany was like, "That's true, like, that did not happen. I said I know for 100% fact Danielle is a traitor," and people extrapolated from that, and, like, the
Yes.
rumor mill started running. That I, like, believe, and I'm kinda
I was
glad that
gonna say, I'm happy they squashed it, like, it was a very believable like, they just kind of, like, shut it down, and we're like, "Okay."
yeah, and I'm happy about that was the case because if she did break her NDA, it would just, like, open up a can of worms. I just, like, wanna trust that the game is fair.
Totally.
So
I mean, it
I'm
would just
glad.
to your point, it would literally ruin the game. It would just
Yeah,
ruin everyone's experience, like, there's no benefit for
right.
and what are you gonna do that for, like, $45,000 that's gonna be taxed at 40%? So you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, to, like, win more money, it's like, I don't know.
right, exactly. There would just be no point to that, and I remember when I saw that going around the internet, I was disheartened, so I'm glad that was squashed. Okay, wait, so I wanna talk about how they killed Tom Sandoval.
Yeah,
That was so funny when he was like, "Overall, I was a pleasure to work with, and I didn't realize I was gonna be good at this, but, like, I was."
totally.
I mean, I know that he didn't do this on purpose, but this was, like, the best thing that he could have done for his public persona.
Yes,
Like, just letting everyone laugh at him and
yes,
let him be, like, a total jester and
yes,
clown, and because now everyone's like, "You know what? He's just, like, a lovable" not lovable, I wouldn't go that far, but, like, he's just, like, a moron. He's just, like, a dumb guy, and, like, it just felt good that we could all, like, laugh at him together.
yes,
I think it was healing as a country because 2 years ago,
absolutely.
we were so enraged with him, and now we're like, we've kinda come
Oh
on. We
oh,
accept him
Tom.
for who "Oh, Tom." Like, we don't forgive him, but we're kind of just like, "Alright, this man is a moron, and he's, like, really funny on my
If
TV screen."
anything, this is gonna sound like not to, like, not be a feminist here, because like, love Ariana, always team Ariana, but if anything, it kind of put Ariana in a weird light because it was just like, "What were you doing?" She is so much smarter than he is. Like, how I don't wanna say how could you not know that he was cheating, like, that anyone can be deceived by that, but, like, how could you not see that, like, this is not someone
He
to
should
be in a
be long-term relationship with.
yes, who, like, you can trust, like, he's so flimsy and, like, just I
I
mean,
I
yeah.
just, like, imagine because that show, like, exists in such a weird universe where there's so many crazy characters. You have Jax Taylor, Tom and
Mhm.
Katie and their chaotic relationship, Sheena,
Yeah,
Lala. It's like everyone around you is insane, so, like, maybe Tom just seems, like, more normal amongst that cast of
totally.
characters, but then when you pull him into a different setting, hence the Traitors, you're just like all the comments of people who had never seen Vanderpump Rules just being
Yeah.
like, why is he acting like an alien that's imitating a human who's imitating a detective?" Which is, like, such a good assessment.
It's literally exactly who he is. I mean, from the beginning, because Ariel really didn't watch Vanderpump Rules, like, he, like, knew that he was a cheater, but, like, didn't really care, like, was invested. From the beginning, Ariel's like, "I love Tom." Like, I don't get why everyone hates Tom because Ariel was, like, coming at it, like, from a very not personal kind of, like, lens and was just like, "He's the funniest one."
Right, exactly. If you don't know the background, like, you're like, "This guy's hysterical," and
Right, like,
he's not trying to be, but,
right,
like, he just is.
exactly. Like, he just has the most ridiculous comments.
I loved
Yeah.
Ellen being like, "For once, Tom was a faithful."
Well, yeah.
That was a good one.
It was so good, and I also like, you kind of touched on this, but I also wanna reiterate, I am, like, proud of Tom because I do think this put his career on a pretty good trajectory, like, now he'll be able to stay in that circuit. Like, now I think he'll be wanted for more I mean, he was already wanted because but he it was because people were hoping that he would, like, bring so much drama because of how he, like, blew up Vanderpump Rules, whereas now I think he'll be, like, wanted and cast for shows just
Comedic
because
relief.
yeah, he's a good personality to have because he's kind of like all over the place and I don't know, I think I'm like happy for him because yeah, he'll be known for something outside of being this like demon.
Yeah. You know, something that I loved was an interview that Carolyn did where she was asked, like, "Who were you closest with in the house?" And she's like, "Tom Sandoval," which is like, everyone was like, "Wait, what? Like,
Right.
how?" And she's like, "Honestly, like, I just saw him as someone who was trying so hard to be taken seriously, so hard trying to fit in." And I was like, "Tom, like, they're not listening to you. It's not getting through to them. Like, you just need to be yourself." And
Yes.
God, I love this woman. Like, first of all, I think that just speaks to her journey of sobriety because I
Mhm.
feel like anyone that can transform their life in that way. Like, you have to strip away all your ego, and you can just, like, really see the humanity in anyone, and I feel like sh at the end of the day, she's like, "I just see Tom as, like, this little insecure boy that's
Mhm.
trying to fit in," and, I mean, that makes so much sense,
And it
and
makes
all
sense with why he cheated
Yes, I was gonna
with
say, yeah.
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because only insecure people cheat.
Would end with, like, the new hot cast member, like, there was just she was young, like yeah, I totally agree, and how Carolyn it was really interesting, felt like and this is also kind of we touched on this in the show, but also in the reunion, how she felt like she wasn't taken seriously, and to
Oh, yeah.
Danielle's point, it was interesting because, Gabby had Carolyn's back. I think as a viewer, and maybe you have a different perspective, but from my perspective, it wasn't obvious to me that she wasn't taken seriously. I mean, I wasn't in the show, so I don't know, but for the way they edited it, I didn't think that she wasn't taken seriously, and Danielle was also kind of, like, gaslighting her at the reunion, like, "Of course I respect you, of course people took you seriously," and Gabby and I, like, obviously we trust Queen Gabby. Gabby interjected at the reunion and said, "Actually, I don't think she was taken seriously, and I think that that needs to be acknowledged," instead of, like, continuing to tell her that she was. She had this experience, and I don't think a lot of the women were taken seriously, and I think Carolyn definitely suffered from that. So that made me think of it I had, like, a different perspective. Um, did you what did you think about that? Did you think that she was taken seriously?
No, yeah, I think, like, she's definitely an odd bird. She has, like, the facial expressions and, like,
Right.
a really interesting, like, way of talking and expressing herself, and I think that she just looks really interesting with the big hair and the lips
Totally.
and the
And the tattoos,
tattoos.
yeah.
Right, and people just, like, look at her and, like, put her in a box and just, like, assume that she's one way, but she is, like, very layered and, like,
Yes.
she's very, like, sensitive and smart and, like and kind, and I think that anyone that took the time to get to know her, like Dylan and Gabby
Right,
and even
right.
Boston Rob were like,
Yes.
"Carolyn's the best."
And
Even
it's
Tom Sandoval.
yes, and it's funny because I felt that way about her. Like, the whole show, I was like, I actually think Carolyn, like, has a good strategy. Like, I genuinely took her seriously, so maybe it's why I didn't recognize that other people in the show didn't, because I really did like her. I liked everything she said, even though she was weird. I was like, "She's making sense."
Yeah, I know, just because the way she looked as she was speaking was not, like, quote, unquote, "normal."
Totally.
People couldn't look past that, but the content of what she was saying was completely sound.
Yes.
And I love that Gabby had her back, and I love that when Carolyn started crying and she was like, "It hurt," and Gabby, I literally, like, touched her arm and goes, "It's okay."
Oh,
Their
Gabby.
friendship is so beautiful. She was the it another interview I saw, someone asked Gabby, like, who's her closest friend coming out of the show, and she said, "Carolyn, we text every day."
Oh my god,
And
I
then they
love
were like
her.
and they're like, "Who do you talk to, like, the least?" And she's like, "Danielle, I don't even have her number."
I am well, I mean, yeah, they have, like, nothing in common. Danielle is so lame. I had no idea she was a grandma. Sorry, that's not why she's lame, but, like, I just think she's, like, of a very different time.
Yes, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's funny because, like, everyone on the show has, like, a million or more followers, and she has, like, 7,000
There
followers.
was well, that's because and she did not do herself any favors on this
No.
show if she wanted to build a public persona. I also saw this graph, I don't remember the numbers of, like, the people on the show whose follower count increased the most and, like, when in the show it
Mhm.
increased, and Dylan had obviously the biggest increase at the beginning of the show because just look at him and he's, like, really fun eye candy. Towards the end of the show, Gabby had the most people
Yeah.
follow her. Danielle was the only cast member who had people unfollow.
Oh my god. It's sad. It's sad because, like, I mean, she was really there for the money, like she said at the reunion. Like, I think that she is in this old school era where she doesn't see how, like, social media is a way to, like, earn income.
Yeah,
Like, or
totally.
she gets that she could make money doing it, like, on some level, but she doesn't understand that it's, like, people's full-on careers.
Right, like, the money that you win from a show like this is, like, focusing on that is short-term thinking.
Right.
It's just, like,
Exactly.
immediate reward, but thinking how you can, like, play well for the camera and, like, Wes, actually, I do wanna talk about Wes because I always defended Wes because I was a huge fan of him and CT on The Challenge, like, growing up watching MTV. And I, like, loved him. He was just always like one of the best players, like Johnny Bananas, CT, West, like those were like
It's like the Mount Rushmore of like challenge players.
truly. So I was sad when he left so early and so excited he was on the show, but the way he left was like appalling. I, and I
So bad.
but I still saw through it. I'm like, "No," I'm like, "I really think he's joking." Like, I don't remember him being that much of an asshole. And Ariel was like,
No, he's always been a dick.
"Yeah, maybe when I was young, I just thought he was like cool." But in the reunion, like Ariel even said, he definitely played it as well as he could have. Like his humanity definitely showed through
Mhm.
in the reunion. And kind of he was just like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. Like, I know what makes for good TV. I know." He's like, "I'm a bitter bitch." Like, he was like
Yeah,
very
exactly.
self-aware. So it was kind of more how I remembered him. Like, I didn't remember him as being like completely unhinged. I remember him being like very rational and strategic, even if that came with him being an asshole.
Yeah, like him just being, "I'm a faithful, fuck you guys."
Right. I mean, it was crazy, but hoped and thought it was an act because I don't remember him being like insane. And then
Right.
the reunion, I felt like that was kind of validated because he was just like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing, guys. Like, I've literally
Been on
been."
TV for 20 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a pro,
Right.
for sure. It's crazy. I think it has been exactly 20 years. I feel like his first challenge or first season of The Real World was 2005, which is crazy.
Also, I feel like you would also appreciate this. It's just like a revelation I had. In that era, it was like the American Pie era of like masculinity where like
Yeah.
cursing and like, "Oh, that bitch is hot," whatever. Like that's like what being a man or like a good reality star show sorry, that's like what being a man sort of was, whereas now it's more of like the Dylan era. Like men are a little softer and it's hot to be a feminist and it's just like a different time, and I think Wes is still kind of like a little bit of a relic, but I think that's okay. Like I think he plays it well. Like he's like a macho, like just
That's such a
raw.
good read. Like he's like yeah, I think he's like truly like elder millennial slash maybe borderline Gen X. Like
Yeah.
I'm not changing. I don't go to therapy. I don't
Right.
work on myself.
Right.
Like I'm a man. Like I don't cry. I'm not in touch with my emotions.
And I do remember there were some things going around, like I think Sierra put it out there, or someone said in an interview, Wes is sexist. Wes doesn't like women. And I remember Wes came out and said something like, "That is offensive. I draw the line. I'm not sexist. I respect women." He it's just who he is. It's not about women. You know what I mean? Like he's just like a broy competitor. And
Yeah,
he'll
and
be that way to
yeah.
men or women.
And I feel like even when he's like, "I'm the greatest to ever do it," like, they cut to Boston Rob, and he's like, I don't know about that," you
Right.
know? Like, he's, like, offensive to all.
Exactly, and, like, I could see Boston Rob and, like, Derek going up against Wes and, like, having no problem, but, like, someone of, like, the new age being like, "Oh, he's mean." It's like, "No, he's not mean."
Right, no, that's literally why Chrishell voted him out. I remember she was just being like, "I didn't get good vibes from you,
Right,
Wes."
right. I think she was the one actually who said that he was sexist,
Yeah, I think so.
and he
She
was
had a
just
problem
like
with him.
yeah, and he was like and also he has a daughter, like, I remember he's just like,
He
"That's
shut
not
that down.
cool, like, not a sexist, don't come for me like that."
Yeah. I mean, yes, I definitely think they're just from, like, way different eras of reality TV.
Yeah,
Um
and how she just, like, turned it around.
Okay, wait. So going back to Gabby for a second, I just like was obsessed with how she handled herself when Brittany and Danielle were trying to come for her because their whole goal was we're gonna kill Tom, but then we have to get Gabby banished.
Mhm.
And I feel like at that point in the game, Gabby was so locked in. She's like, I know for 100% fact that Danielle is a traitor. And I think she was able to sway
Yes, everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
They came into that round table, Gabby knowing that people were gonna be after her, everyone else thinking they were probably gonna go vote for Gabby, and somehow not a single person
Voted for
voted
her,
for Gabby. It was between Ivar and Danielle.
which oh my god, I mean, we have to talk about Dolores for a second. She kills me.
Horrible.
The way she votes, the fact that she would kept voting for Tom every episode just because she didn't like him, I'm like, "You are throwing away votes, Dolores. Like,
Right.
get your head in the game."
And someone I think at the reunion said, like,
It was
um
Andy.
What did
And
he say?
Andy was like, "Dolores, you voted wrong 8 out of 11 times."
Totally.
That
No,
was so
but
funny.
also someone was like, Tom clearly didn't think I was actually a traitor. He just didn't like me. So he kept voting me. I kept voting him. And Tom's like, but I did think you were a traitor.
Yeah, no, yeah, they cut back to the room, and Brittany was like, "Didn't you think she was a traitor?" He's like, "100%."
Yeah.
And I
Which,
believe that.
of course.
But
He
I
didn't
think
hate anyone. All he just, again, like he just wanted to be liked. Like he would have been friends with anyone who wanted to be friends with him.
right, he just
Um,
wanted to be taken seriously so
yes.
badly, and I feel like he was just like, "I'm gonna be the one to catch Dolores. Like, she's flying under the radar, but she's a traitor." Like, I feel
Right.
like he was trying to have that moment.
Right. And he got really confident because he kind of did that with Boston Rob, which was a huge takedown. Like
It
he led
was.
that charge.
Yeah, he did. But he did, like, get Ivar and Sam, like, aligned with him, because I think if he didn't, then everyone would be like, "Shut up, Tom."
Totally.
Oh my god, that also reminds me, I saw an interview that Alan did, the round table where they voted out West and not Boston Rob when there was all this evidence, like, clearly against Boston Rob. He had, like, an earpiece in, and the producers were like, "Alan, Alan, your face," because apparently he, like, rolled his eyes so hard and was like, "Are you guys fucking kidding?" Like, he, like, could not believe that, again, Boston Rob was not getting voted off.
That's hysterical.
He was like,
Um,
I guess I couldn't, like, hide it."
I mean, there were so many things that he did where like they just like cut to Alan. Remember the baby doll singing episode with Tom Sandoval and Alan
Alan crying, laughing in the
in the
background,
background?
and he goes, "I think
Oh,
that was vibrato."
yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, this season of Traitors was just unbelievable. And so at the end, so speaking of that round table where Dolores voted for Ivar, it was a tie, so they had to go back around again. And Brittany thinks that Dolores changed her vote from Ivar to Danielle. So by the time it comes back around to Brittany, she has to reveal who she voted for. She's like shitting her pants. And then
Yeah.
it's the big reveal that she voted for Danielle.
Don't know that I believe what Brittany was saying. That
The way they edited it,
correct.
it made sense.
The way they edited it, but I don't know. I think Brittany's a little slimy.
Yeah, I think so too.
I also
I
thought she was horrible. She did not get one traitor the whole game. She was
right.
like sure, I mean, I don't she was like defending Boston Rob with her life.
Yeah. She was wrong every single time.
Yeah.
And she was so bad that Derek thought she was a traitor.
Yes. Derek, I do want to say, I think he is there was one thing he said at the reunion at the very end that really
I
bothered
know what you're
me.
gonna say.
Yes, and I have to acknowledge that he did not mean it. Once again, I think he's from a different like from a different time where I think he thought he was being kind when he said it. But it was funny, they just like cut him out. Like they like he said it and then right after Andy Cohen was like, "All right, well thanks everyone for coming."
Right, he was like,
But
"No, no, no, shh."
exactly, at the very end, so Gabby had said something, I don't remember what it was, and right after Gabby said that, Derek was like, "Gabby, I actually thought you were really great this whole game." Something like that. And it was very misogynistic. It was internalized misogyny. Like he didn't mean it any type of way. I think he genuinely respected her game. But if she were a guy, like it would be like just saying to Dylan, I actually thought you were really smart this whole game. But like no one would say that because Dylan's an attractive man.
It was
So
a textbook microaggression.
textbook microaggression, exactly. Um, yeah, obviously she won the fucking game. What do you mean? You were actually really good the whole game. Like
Yeah,
she
it's just
literally
like,
won.
guys, Legally Blonde came out over 20 years ago. Women can be hot and smart.
Exactly.
And just because
Exactly.
they talk like in a peppy or interesting way doesn't mean they're not smart.
Gabby and I said from the beginning, every single confessional that Gabby had, she was on point.
Yeah,
Every
she was
single
on to
one.
I think she was one of the first people onto Danielle, like, I heard her voice coming from the bookshelf.
I also want to talk about Sam for a minute because he went from someone who I thought like couldn't be more boring or have less to contribute to now he's first of all, I'm really happy Andy Cohen brought up on the reunion that brilliant take of a traitor wouldn't know what Alan was wearing. He would like use that to try and get a traitor. And then obviously Tom ruined it, but that was like very smart thinking. He's also kind of been doing the podcast circuit.
Yes, I've been
Um,
seeing this.
and he talks about, and he actually talked about this in the Traitors as well in one of, like, the confessionals, but he's a refugee from Iran, and he
Yes.
literally left Iran, um, because women don't have rights, and he said that he has sisters, and he
3
literally
sisters.
how many?
3.
3 sisters, and, I mean, who knew this man had so much depth, so much worldly experience, has been through so much, like, I don't care if you're rich or poor, whatever, fleeing a country because women don't have rights and having to come to another country and start over, I mean,
Yeah, and I just liked his background of being like, "People think I'm quiet. It's because, like, I came to this country when I was 13. I couldn't speak English, so I had to listen to learn." And, like, that's what I'm doing, like, I'm listening because, like, when he spoke, it was so intentional and
yes.
so, like, on like, when he did finally, like, lock in and start talking and leading things, I'm like, "Fire, points,
Yes,
Sam," like,
yes, yes,
that was genius when he was like, "What was Alan wearing?"
yes.
And, like, really, if Tom didn't screw that whole thing up, like, I think they really would have gotten Carolyn exactly in that moment.
Like, he's kind of someone if I had to choose, like, obviously except Gab with the exception of Gabby, but even maybe with Gabby in the mix, if I could, like, choose to go to dinner with someone, I honestly might go to dinner with Sam because I just have so many questions for him.
Yeah,
Like
I feel like he'd be a great, like, dinner conversationalist.
right, like, obviously Dylan would be hot, Gabby would be really funny, but Sam, like, has this really interesting background. He was married to Britney Spears, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I just, like I don't know, I'm a huge fan right now, huge fan.
He also has 2,000,000 Instagram followers, and I know that mostly comes from being married to Britney Spears previously, but, like, that's, like, holy shit, like, you have
Totally.
a platform.
Yes.
I'm here for his moment. I really liked him. He seems really sweet.
I hope we get more
Yeah.
from him.
On the note of, like, dinner, did you see that Boston Rob and Sierra, like, went out for veal parm? I thought that
Yes.
was funny.
I thought that was funny. I also loved that Sierra at the reunion called out what everyone was thinking about all the clips of Boston Rob from when he was on Survivor going around, and she was like, "You were fucking hot." I
And
think
then
that's, like,
Bob the
what
drag queen was like, "You were hot? I would not take that disrespect."
yeah,
That was funny.
it
But
was. I think that's the most substantive thing she's ever said, like, she actually contributed something to the conversation.
good job, Sierra. You did
Yeah.
it. We knew you could do it, girl,
Yep.
after being on TV for 6 years. Just, like, there were so many funny moments at the reunion. First of all, Ion.
I mean, she is weird. I don't watch Real Housewives of Dubai, but I
I
have
think it's
no
canceled now.
I mean, she is a weirdo, and like, so delusional. I never thought she was funny. I don't know why she thinks she's so funny. I thought she
She's
was
like, "Raise
very
your hand if I made you laugh."
yeah, like,
Like,
what?
that was funny.
Yeah, right, no, right.
Like, she's like a Tom Sandoval in that she's such a character.
Yes, but I
And
just something about her, like, I didn't enjoy her. Like, Tom I enjoyed. I just, like, didn't enjoy her presence. I also thought it was just so weird in the reunion when she's like, "Bob the drag queen voted me off because he was intimidated by how funny I was."
right,
It's
you
like
didn't want me there because like, you wanted to be the funniest.
I'm like, "You're not funny. Who thought
Right,
she was funny?"
right, exactly. Although it is hysterical that she thought that survivors were people that survived something and not contestants on the game show on the reality TV show Survivors.
It is, but it's like is like, being stupid is funny, I guess.
Right, and we have Tom Sandoval for that.
Right, exactly. It just wasn't my she wasn't my cup of tea. I also don't have a history with her, like Tom Sandoval, I obviously have a history with, so everything he said was funnier because of the context, whereas, like, this random woman, I was just like, I don't know, I wasn't into
Right.
it.
I do love that her and Wells have, like, a really close friendship,
I
question
was
mark?
like, "No, I'm sorry." I was weirded out by that. How else was like, "Who's the person you talked to?" First of all, I didn't even Ariel was like, "I don't remember this person at all."
About Wells?
Yeah, and
Well,
I think he was voted out
he was
first,
voted out first, yeah.
um, which makes so much sense because he literally looks like just so vanilla to me, like, just someone who just, like,
He's an
again,
easy target.
right, would be voted off and, like, no one would remember he was there, which is what happened. But yeah, when he's like, "Ion" was that her name? What's her name?
Ion, yeah.
Ion is my best friend, like, we text every day, multiple times a day. I
And then
was like
she starts, like, tearing up, and she's like, "You are my best friend." Just like,
Weird.
what is going on here? And aren't you married to Sarah Hyland Wells?
No,
Like, she's okay with this?
exactly, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this is like these are both, I think, married people,
I don't think
right?
Ayan is married. I'm
Okay.
not sure. But
Very strange.
regardless, very strange.
Yeah.
Um, I loved, like, Dorinda and Bob the drag queen. I feel okay, so you don't have, like, a history with Dorinda,
No,
right?
but she was fucking nuts. I thought Bob the Drag King was making sense. They got into a fight, and Dorinda was like, "Why would you say you don't even know who I am?" And he's like, "I didn't say it in a mean way. I was just saying that there was no ill will when I voted you off. It wasn't personal. I just had to choose someone, and I just happened to choose you." And she was like, "Well, I don't know who you are." And he's like, "That's fine."
Right, he's like, "I did it to Wells too. I didn't know Wells. I just threw his name out there."
Right. And she's like, "Well, we don't know who you are." And she's like, and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
It is so classic Dorinda though, like, so she's from Real Housewives of New York, and, like, she is just, like, just truly off her rocker, like, so unstable, like, she always goes after people, like, I think she was just mad that she got voted off first, and she
Totally.
it's a classic it's just classic Dorinda, I can't explain it, she's just truly, truly nuts, and she's an alcoholic.
I mean, that adds up. That adds up.
Um, Another thing I loved at the reunion, I know we're jumping around, but I loved that they addressed the whole, like, Danielle swore on her grandchildren, and she
Mhm.
just upfront was like, "Yeah, you bet your ass I did that." And she's like, "I did that because Dolores was questioning
Mhm.
me, and I could tell, like, Dolores is someone who, like, can see right through people," which I don't know if that's so true, but
Right.
she
She
was
was
just
talking
like
with literally no one.
right. But she was like, I could just see her, like, looking, like, literally to the back of my skull, like, grilling me, and I knew that she's, like, Italian and, like, a family woman, so the one thing that's gonna get through to her is, like, talking about my family, so I said, "I swear on my grandchildren, I'm not a traitor." Put in that context, I don't think it's so bad. Like, I feel like everyone was saying, like, "Danielle is such a despicable person, like, who does that?" And, like, also the fact that she said, "I was here for the money. I would've said anything to get that money." Like, clearly she just, like, needs money. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
but I
didn't think
think
it was that big of a deal.
I agree. I think it was just in the context of everything else. People were just she just played the game so hard. Like, not
Mhm.
even that well, although that brings us back to Robin's point about how she maybe played it the best because she's the traitor who lasted the longest in the game. But that aside, like, everything she did just gave desperate. Like, it was just,
Mhm.
like, which, to your point, if you are there to win the money, then there's, I guess, nothing wrong with that, like, good for her. But I think it just turns people off when people are there to, like, have the experience, make friends, like, play well, but, like, have some likable attributes.
Yeah.
And she was just doing things left and right that were, like, very weird, as if
And
it
the
was like,
crying and the shaking. I know.
"I
It
told
just
you I was ready to fight."
I was ready to fight. I told you. Oh my god. And the hat looking like ET.
Oh my god. And then one other thing I wanted to talk about is I really appreciated that they addressed Boston Rob getting out Bob the drag queen based on that very offhanded comment that Bob the drag queen made, because watching it back, it seems like Boston Rob saw what Bob the drag queen said the way all the audience saw it,
Mhm.
which was once again, like, he said that, like, just so, like, "Oh, I guess Boston Rob's, like, really freaking out, but, maybe we missed something." Because I remember that's how I felt. I was like, "That was not an attack." He
It
was just,
really
like
wasn't.
he was just, like, talking, he was, like, distracting, he was like, "Look over here, like, look." He wasn't, like, but Boston Rob heard it, and it freaked him out, and I appreciated that he was just like, "Yeah, I probably didn't have to go at you that hard, like, I," upon, like, seeing it in the context, like, "You really didn't mean it like that."
And everyone there was like, "I didn't even hear him say that."
Right, and Bob was like, "I didn't even know I said that." Like, so
It's
I
really and that changed the trajectory of the entire game, because
yes,
then after that, all the traders were going after each other.
right, right. And I also love, speaking of Boston Rob, I mean, yeah, I love that the Boston Rob Dylan friendship, and one specific point was how Dylan was just like, you can see, like, how when you watch Boston Rob on these shows, he takes one rookie, like, one, like, nice rookie, and just takes him to the end and then cuts him. He was like, "I was ready to do that with Boston Rob."
He's like, "I signed up for that. I knew it
Yeah,
was
he's like, "I
coming."
was ready to go with Boston Rob to the end and then be cut."
I'm so happy for Dylan though. I'm so happy he won. I think it's like a little annoying that Ivar and Dolores won because like they just like were coasting by the whole game and like
100%.
had no strategy. But I'm really happy for Dylan and Gabby.
Me too.
I'm so happy for Gabby that her and Robbie got married.
Oh my god.
And
Yes, and
I had the chills when Alan was like, "What would you do for this money?" She was like, "I'm getting emotional, but like it would mean like I could marry my girlfriend."
I mean, and
Now they're married.
it seems like I will this is speculation, but I don't think they used the money to get married. I think, like, my suspicion from it is they probably wanted a big wedding, so they wanted this money, but they actually got married in Vegas right after the LA fires.
Yes.
So I bet that they maybe were gonna do a big wedding, and then they were just like, "You know what? Let's just, like, get married." Um, and it was funny because Gabby actually referenced Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey because Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey had broken up. Nick Lachey went to the airport, and he was at the airport for 9/11, and Jessica called him, and I have not thought about this story, I think, since
Oh my god.
2001.
You're literally unlocking like such a deep memory for me right now.
Yes, well, thank you, Gabby Windy, because she unlocked it for me. So Jessica Simpson calls Nick Lachey and she's like, after 9/11, so emotional. And she's like, I love you. You're all that matters. Like, I don't want to lose you. They get back together and they get married. And then Newlyweds is born. So Gabby Windy, bless her heart, brought up this story because she was like, that was kind of what my wedding was giving to Robbie because it was after the LA fires, obviously sans breakup. It was after the LA fires, and they're like, you're all that matters to me. Like, we don't need a big wedding. Like, let's just get married. So even though she did win that money, I would suspect that she didn't use it the way that they got married.
Yeah, I know. That's probably true. I think it was kind of like a chapel shotgun wedding. I think
Right.
they said the whole thing cost them like $800. So
Okay. So then
obviously like
definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
they definitely didn't use it for that, but like they could use it for their lives to like, put a
Totally.
down payment towards a home. Who knows?
Totally. I'm
No,
obsessed with them.
I'm
I want a
obsessed with
reality
them.
show with them, but I feel like they'd be too smart to do it because I feel
Right.
like the reality show curse, but we'll see.
It's so funny. So Dave Portnoy slid into Gabby's DMs saying, "I hear you're the next big thing." And she took a screenshot and just wrote, "Who is this Diva Cup?" Which is literally the best response to Dave Portnoy, like the most man of all man sliding into your DMs. Do you
I
know who Dave
am
Portnoy is?
of no, I
Okay.
just more didn't know what a diva cup was.
It's well, like, you know how people say, like, "Who's this diva?"
Yes,
I feel
yes.
like I think her take on it is, "Who's this Diva Cup?" A Diva
I
Cup is
know.
a form of, like a tampon.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
a cup
Okay.
that collects your period blood, I believe.
I I gathered all of that, but that might have been why my face was a little weird because I was just like trying to piece everything together, but it is hysterical. And I do hope she gets a big bar stool.
Well, apparently, Zach told me that Dave underestimated what a star she is. I don't think he can afford her at this point. So I think that she's on to bigger and better things than Barstool. I also don't think Barstool is, like, the right
Not
fit for
right.
her.
It's not right for her. She should,
So,
yeah. I hope
you
she
know
gets
what
a deal
I
with Spotify.
Oh, this is a good transition to Summer House, but like maybe Giggly Squad will expand to be a podcast network because I could see Gabby like being a podcast on the Giggly Squad network. I think that's a really good like
That is a
synergy
totally. I think that's a really good take.
because Hannah and Paige are like really, they're so like anti men, and so is Gabby. So I think it's a great alignment.
It's
So I would like to see this manifest in real life.
me too. I hope it happens.